Hello everyone, welcome to part 3 of the lecture series on disaster management and mitigation. So in this particular part 3, we are going to discuss about the natural disasters. So I'm going to give you a very short explanation about what are natural disasters and what are its categories, the classifications, and few examples about the natural disasters as well as the international laws especially covering about the UPSC questions. Okay, so if you have followed my previous two lectures, this would really help you to understand the cycle in the disaster management as well as the mitigation concepts. So well, natural disasters is the one which happens without any trigger of human activity. So on its own, for example, earthquake or tsunamis or cyclones that causes. Of course, there are studies which has proved that it is caused because of human activities like global warming, emission of more greenhouse gases which causes ozone depletion also. So natural disaster is changing its course because of the overconsumption of fossil fuels which even affects the biodiversity. So as the year goes on, the definition itself getting changed. Now, let me give you about the classification of the natural disasters. So coming to the classifications, so you cannot classify it as types of natural disasters as just earthquake, cyclones, floods, landslides, avalanches, and all. So we have a very good set of categories which are to be followed for classification of the natural disasters. So coming to that, you have geological disasters, hydrological disasters, meteorological disasters, wildfires, space disasters, and then in this particular presentation, we are also going to see about the protection by the international law, the political consequences, and the recent history. Well, geological disasters, you have avalanches and landslides, earthquakes, sinkholes, and volcanic eruptions. So, well, I will give you a very short explanation of all of this because explaining each of this itself will take a whole part as an episode. Okay, so that I will explain in upcoming episodes. Fine. So coming to avalanche, so an avalanche is a mass of snow that slides rapidly down an inclined slope, such as mountainside or the roof of a building. Avalanches are actually triggered by either natural forces, for example, high precipitation, wind drifting, rapid temperature changes, and of course, it happens due to human activity also. In mountainous terrain, they are among the most serious hazards to human life and property. Avalanches are sometimes called snowslides. Next, you have landslide. It is the movement of rock, earth, or debris down a sloped section of land. Fine. Landslides are more widespread than any other geological event and can occur anywhere in the world. They occur when large masses of soil, rocks, or debris move down a slope due to a natural phenomenon or human activity. So, earthquakes. The earthquakes are the result of movement in plate tectonics or shifting places in the crust of earth, and quakes occur when the frictional stress of gliding plate boundaries builds and causes failure at a fault line. Sinkholes are nothing but cavities in the ground that form when water erodes an underlying rock layer. So you have hydrological disasters. Again, under it you have floods, limnic eruptions, and tsunami. So floods are nothing but a sudden caused due to sudden high amount of precipitation or unplanned opening of dam shutters, so etc. And you have limnic eruption. So it is what happens when deadly gases like, for example, carbon dioxide explode out of volcanic lakes. Sometimes the carnage unfolds on multiple fronts, just as lethal clouds suffocate humans and animals. The abrupt displacement of water is liable to create even tsunamis at times. So next you have tsunamis. Tsunamis are giant waves caused by earthquake or volcanic eruptions under the sea. Out in the depth of the ocean, tsunami waves do not dramatically increase in height. But as the waves travel inland, they build up to higher and higher heights as the depth of the ocean decreases. The speed of tsunami waves depends on the ocean depth rather than the distance from the source of the wave. Tsunami waves may travel as fast as jet planes over deep waters, only slowing down when reaching shallow waters. Then comes meteorological disasters, under which you have blizzards, cyclonic storms, droughts, thunderstorms, hailstorms, heat waves, and tornadoes. So you might be heard of cyclonic storms, droughts, and thunderstorms. So of course, heat waves also, especially in India. Some factors like blizzards or hailstorms or tornadoes are it's a rare phenomenon, whereas blizzard is very rare phenomenon. I'll explain you very shortly about the blizzard. A blizzard is nothing but an extreme snowstorm followed by a very strong and constant wind. Almost minimum wind speed will be almost 60 km per hour, which lasts 3 hours or more. Difference between snowstorms and blizzard is in the power of the wind. Next, you have cyclonic storms. Cyclonic storms are nothing but the low pressure area that is being formed with respect to the cyclonic circulation in ocean. So that is called cyclonic storms. And you have droughts. Drought is caused by not only due to shortage of water or poor rainfall or lack of precipitation and high temperature, but by overuse and overpopulation also. When people write about drought, so even in UPSC exams, people tend to forget this particular fact that they think that drought can be caused only because of poor rainfall or shortage of water. But do remember, it is also caused by overuse and overpopulation. Next, thunderstorms. Thunderstorms are again a sudden or extreme rainfall event accompanied by lightning and thunder. Okay, then you have hailstorms. It is an unusual weather phenomenon in which balls of ice called hail fall from sky. The ice balls are nothing more than solid precipitation that will form under certain conditions. Next, you have heat waves. Of course, heat waves are nothing but so when the wind force is very high and dry conditions, causing more heat, so more dryness to the weather conditions. So that is called as heat waves. Next, you have tornadoes. Yeah, tornado is we can say as a violent rotating column of air extending from a thunderstorm to the ground. Up to ground level it will touch. So that is called as a tornado. Next you have wildfires. Everyone very easily know about wildfire because from the later part of the 2019 when the new year started for 2020, so the whole world was focusing about the Australian wildfires. So wildfires are large fires which often start in wildland areas. So common causes include lightning and drought, but wildfires may also be started by human negligence. Some people go for camping and put the gaseous material or inflammable materials over there. Okay, so that can also cause wildfires. They can spread to populated areas and can thus be a threat to humans, and of course it causes a a threat to wildlife also. In fact, wildlife is the one which gets affected more. So next you have space disasters, impact events and airburst. Next, solar flare. Impact events is nothing but collision of satellites and failure of a rocket, explosion of land shuttle are called impact events. Next, airburst. An airburst is an explosion in which a weapon or a missile is detonated in air at an altitude below 30 km but at sufficient height that the fireball does not contact the surface of the earth. After such burst, blast may cause considerable damage and injuries. Solar flare. A flare is defined as a sudden, rapid, and intense variation in brightness. A solar flare occurs when magnetic energy that has built up in solar atmosphere is suddenly released. Radiation is emitted across virtually the entire electromagnetic spectrum. So when a solar flare occurs in the surface of the sun, the entire spectrum, you take IR, UV, X-ray, whatever it is, even radio waves, everywhere will get affected because of the solar flares. So how does something happens in sun affects earth? So that phenomenon I will explain in the upcoming episodes where we exclusively discuss about each one of these events. Protection by international law. Geneva Conventions defines International Red Cross and Red Crescent movement. The Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities requires that states shall take, in accordance with their obligations under international law, including international humanitarian law and international human rights law. So apart from that, each nations have their own treaties between the nations and their own policies for their own subjects. Political consequences. Natural disasters can also affect political relations with countries and vice versa. So in the Australian bushfires, the smoke, thick smoke clouds have traveled 1,000 miles and reached New Zealand. It affected that people also. So New Zealand pressurized Australia uh, to go off the wildfires as soon as possible because it's affecting the people of New Zealand. So the one government is giving pressure to another government to take care of their natural disaster. So such political consequences could be happen. So violent conflicts within the state can exacerbate the impact of natural disasters by weakening the ability of states, communities, and individuals to provide disaster relief. The recent history is about the massive earthquake that devastated Nepal, a flood of centuries that soaks Chennai, heat waves that hit southern India. So you have Australian world fires. So here I have given a link bit.ly caps infographics. So you just try to go through that blog which was developed by me. So in that blog I have accessed some of the satellite images, analyzed, and I have given there for your reference. So when you study about the cyclones or precipitation or changes in geomorphological conditions or any wildfires, you can refer this site because I have given and updated some of the uh, natural disasters. So that was captured by the satellite. I have processed and uploaded for your reference. There was a UPSC question. In this episode, I will discuss one question. So from year after from each episode, we will discussing one questions. So last year in 2019, this was the question. Vulnerability is an essential element for defining disaster impacts and its threat to people. How and in what ways can vulnerability to disasters be characterized? Discuss different types of vulnerability with reference to disasters. So you can actually go to my uh, episode 1 to understand what is vulnerability. So what are the different elements of vulnerability? So for this particular question, I will give you the outline how to answer. So you have to write about the introduction about the vulnerability. Then about the United Nations disaster risk reduction, then scientific approach, political approach, then different types of vulnerability, physical, economical, social, and environmental. So when explaining about the introduction of vulnerability, so you can write. So taking the first point, according to United Nations Office of Disaster Risk Reduction (UNDRR), vulnerability can be defined as the conditions determined by physical, social, economical, and environmental factors or processes which increase the susceptibility of an individual, a community, assets, or systems to the impacts of hazards. Vulnerability hazards need to be based on a systemization and conceptualization of vulnerability, describing the main linkages between the different components of risk. Only if the population and decision makers know where and how vulnerable the system is and which social, economic, physical, and environmental factors play a major role in it, adequate measures can be implemented to reduce vulnerabilities to disasters. So again, coming to the second point, we have two approaches: scientific approach and policy approach. So scientific approach, it includes the research line of practical measurement approaches of vulnerability and disaster risk reduction. Coming to the policy approach, it provides information about the spatial distribution of vulnerability to different natural hazards upon which the authorities need to take action. So the next one is about types of vulnerability. First one, physical. The potential for physical impact on the physical environment, which can be expressed as risk at elements, EAR. We call it as EAR, expressed as elements at risk. The degrees of loss to a given EAR or set of EAR resulting from the occurrence of a natural phenomenon of given magnitude and expressed on a scale. For example, 0, no damage. 1, causes some damage. 2, total damage. So the scale has to be defined by the particular governments across the world. So for example, a wooden house is sometimes less likely to collapse in an earthquake, but it may be more vulnerable in the event of a fire or a hurricane. So next one, economic. The potential impacts of hazards on economic assets and processes. For example, the businesses, secondary effects such as increased poverty and job loss. Vulnerability of different economic sectors. For example, families with low incomes often live in high risk areas around the cities because they cannot afford to live in safe places. Maybe the places will be politically influenced or maybe expensive. Next, social. The potential impact of events on groups such as poor, single parent households, pregnant or lactating women, the handicapped, children, elderly. Consider public awareness of risk, ability of groups to self-cope with catastrophes, and status of institutional structure designed to help them cope. For example, women and children are more vulnerable to disasters as compared to men. You take any articles or any research papers that was focused on disaster management, especially on the social vulnerability status. All the papers almost highlighted the same issue, that during any disaster, very commonly women and children are highly vulnerable. Next one, environmental. The potential impacts of events on the environment. So flora, fauna, ecosystems, and biodiversity. For example, people living in tropical areas are more vulnerable to tropical cyclones as compared to people living in temperate region. So this is how when you get into a question, when you read the question, first you try to break the question into these different points, and from these points you can write upon your own essays. So thank you for listening to this particular episode. So from next episode onwards, I will post one question from UPSC previous years. So for any comments or suggestions, please do contact me. Thank you.